Good morning. Good morning. Welcome back to another Wednesday conversation about mastery of the middle. This morning was a topic that I didn't actually go through my old notes or really prepare at all because this is something that I actually have the chance to talk about quite often. You've actually brought this conversation up several times within other conversations in PJC, but I wanted to actually take a moment and talk specifically about our whys. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this specifically is this is something that really redefined my path about 3 years ago, personally. And it's something that I do try to talk to young entrepreneurs about all the time, and I'll explain why. When we start our path as entrepreneurs, sometimes it's the sky's the limit. That's a good way to put it. And because the sky is the limit, it's one of those situations where we could do anything, we could be anyone, we could jump in any field and help any person or support other businesses, whatever it may be. The sky's the limit. And so when we tether ourselves to a why, it can be a bit more not overwhelming, I would say, actually directional. There you go. Good morning to you as well. Directional, more directional. And I love that because, again, when we're thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, sky's the limit. We need a North Star, we need a direction. And I do believe that our why provides a North Star. And that is a great way just to think of it. It's a heading. And every time I think of that, I do think about Peter Pan, aim for the North Star kind of thing. And I don't know why, but that's always been my thought in my head. And so I do believe our why is one of the most important steps in our path as an entrepreneur. I believe it's just as important as our business strategy, just as important as being an expert within our industry. Our why to me is that third leg that is going to support us in so many ways. So I believe though, and again, I was meditating on this morning a lot before I jumped on here, and the thought kept coming back to me that our why should be so big, it should be a bit intimidating. And I don't know why. That was what hit me, and so this is what I'm sharing with everyone, that it should be so big that it's a bit intimidating. And as I was thinking about it more and more, I was thinking back about 3 years ago when I really redefined and I should say refined my why. And it was intimidating. It was a bit scary. Thank you for that comment. I do believe that it needs to be so much bigger than us that we have to strive to be the best version of ourselves to be able to actually fulfill that why. The other thing that I was thinking about was thinking about other women that have been in PJC, that have been on our lives and on our podcasts. And I thought through all of them. And the thing that I come up with when I compare them in a great way, not in a bad way, but every single one of them had a different why. Hmm, kind of interesting, isn't it? So then my brain thought, and I was writing my notes for this morning, and I thought, there is no worry about this world being too small. Every single one of us can fulfill a different why, a different path because of our own personal background. In fact, in all these years of being an entrepreneur, I have never, ever once found somebody else and said, oh my goodness, we have the same business. Oh my goodness, we have the same why. We're doing the same thing. Not once. And this is a very big deal because we think that, oh, there's too much competition. I've even thought that in the past. We think we can't do this because there's so many other people that are doing it. It's trendy, whatever. They are not you. To that point, that anybody else's why is not your why. So therefore, we have nothing to worry about. We have nothing to compare to. We don't have to worry about any competition or what anybody else is doing. All we need to do is look forward and continue on our path with our why. I will talk a little bit about my why towards the end, I promise you. And the real reason for this conversation, what I wrote down was that how do we apply our why? So that is what we're going to gain from the end of this at the end of this conversation. And one thing that I wrote down too that I wanted to share was that to me, our why is our driver on our bad days. For myself, and I think I've shared this. I've shared this so many times, so I apologize if you've heard it before. However, I do want to share this. Is that I believe my why is my driver on the bad days, meaning we all have days that are difficult, that are overbooked and filled with activities for our families and our spouses and all those other things on top of being an entrepreneur. And it can be incredibly difficult to justify sitting down to do something for work when we have all these other things going on. So you have to be very good at balancing out our time, right? We all know this. But on those bad days, my why becomes my driver because I imagine in the morning, I did this morning because it was a difficult morning, to get up and put on an imaginary backpack. It's not a pretty backpack, no sparkles, nothing, anything like that. It is a pure utilitarian backpack. And when I put it on as I get out of bed, I imagine a boulder for each person I'm responsible for. And now I'm not talking about people that I'm supposed to be responsible for. I imagine every person I want to be responsible for. And I put an imaginary boulder in that backpack for each person and I put it on. And this for me is my way of signifying I'm ready for the day and that I am choosing to be present and I am choosing to enact on my why. However, that is not my big why. That is my personal why. And that is something else that we should also note as well. Thank you, Lee. I love that analogy too. It gets me through the really hard days. So thank you. So if we have our why and we also have our motivation, as in what do we do when we have a bad day? For me, it's that analogy. And we also know that no one, not any other person in this group, in your other entrepreneurial groups, doesn't matter where, no one else has the same motive as you. Nobody has walked the same path as you. And again, going through the different women that we've even interviewed, I can tell you, for example, we had a woman on with us in one of our early episodes that wants to help burn victims in their survivor status. That is 100% nowhere near anything that to do with me, but I support her and I want her why to be fulfilled. Alethea, who also is on these lives, hers is to help women of color find their voice that has been silenced through public speaking. 100% opposite of mine as well. So we can see, even within this beautiful, diverse group, none of us have the same why. So therefore, we have room for everyone. We have room for all of our whys, and we have room to support each other's whys at all times. So getting back to how to define our why, and then we'll figure out how to apply our why, okay? So I do believe there is a lot of wonderful, wonderful experts, coaches out there. I can tell you my personal one. My personal one, and I've mentioned this many times, if anybody was to call me a groupie, I'm okay with this because I totally believe in his methods. There's a gentleman, he's been around for several years with his business. It's called the Campfire Effect. I have no official association with the company. I am just privileged enough that I myself was able to attend several master classes with Chris Smith, the owner of the Campfire Effect. But the reason I really admire and respect the work that he does is he takes ethics and morals and tries to redefine corporate environments that have lost their way when it comes to their morals and ethics. And I love that. He also has a whole program for families and blended families. It's awesome. I absolutely love his work. So that is my guy that helped me find my why. And interestingly enough, I had already been in contact with him, had been on business calls with him. And so when I went into his masterclass, I was incredibly open and present and ready for it. Even though I was open, present, and ready, I thought I knew my why. I thought I had it. In fact, I had to sit through the exact same class twice. And after sitting through it a second time, I realized I didn't have it. My why wasn't big enough. I hadn't defined it to the full extent that it could be. So through his classes, I was able to define my why. And if anybody hasn't heard it, I am always happy to share it with anyone that my why is to help single mothers become entrepreneurs. And the reason being is when we become single parents after a divorce, a lot of times, statistically speaking, women are tethered still to the situation of divorce, especially financially. Therefore, I believe all single mothers, most, if not all, in my book, all, should become entrepreneurs because it's the ability to buy back time and spend more time with our children when it's necessary, instead of always having children potentially with grandparents, aunts, uncles, babysitters. I was able to spend as much time as possible. Again, that's a personal definition, with my children. And I believe this was important to me because I was mom and dad within the household when my children were little. I was the only one that could get up at night with my children, help them learn how to ride their bikes during the day, mow the grass, all of these things, and still work full time as an entrepreneur. It was very important to me, and I'm very proud of this fact. I'm very proud of the fact that I was able to raise my children as an entrepreneur. I want to help other single moms do the same because I do believe this is a very important part of, like I said, buying back time, but also taking back your authority and your power. So I believe that is the way. So that's my why. I've never heard anybody else say that exact same why. So again, there's room for everyone. So that it was my why. I learned it through my process with Christmas Campfire Effect. And I do dare anybody to get through that without crying because, man, he can move you. Every time I go to one of his classes, I do happen to cry. I'm very proud of this. But it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to discover our whys, and it should be our driver on the good days and the bad. So the last question I had on the list, and again, this wasn't going to be a very long conversation today because it's just so powerful the way it is. We don't need to overtalk it. We just need to do it. The other thing that I suggest is how do we apply our why? Well, okay, this is not a straightforward answer for a reason. If I only focused on single mothers, I would not have been able to define my company the way I did. And let me explain. If I only wanted to help single mothers of this world, financially, my company wouldn't be where it is because that is more of the passion project. So how I did it was our company developed a program that is educational based for anyone that's entrepreneurial minded. Therefore, anyone can enter into our program and become an expert in visibility marketing, business strategy, sales, all of the above. So, what did we do? Instead, we are going to be offering some scholarships for single parents, single moms, and single dads. And we are also going to be aligning our program with homeschool programs because this is a way to help children become entrepreneurs earlier in life. Therefore, I'm not only fulfilling my why, I'm also helping homeschool kids, which my children are homeschooled, and also my business partner, life partner, his why is to help fathers leave corporate America and become entrepreneurs to buy back more time. Therefore, we are hitting both of our whys and we are fulfilling what we want to do in the future. However, we realized from day one that we needed digital real estate, meaning you can't be in obscurity. I'm not the expert on that conversation, but there are several gentlemen that I just got to sit through classes. They explain it incredibly well. And what it comes down to is if we're in obscurity, we will never be able to make the impact in the world that we need to make, not just desire, but need to make. So therefore, that's important. So what we have been doing over the last couple of years is growing our digital real estate and nurturing our audience and making connections with people to be able to then hit our why. That is always going to be our North Star. However, it is not the first stop because that is the long term. And we have to have as much digital real estate as possible, therefore, to be able to find our why. That's the way I define it. Other people may define it a little differently, but that's how it works for us. It works for our collective team within Grit and King. And each of us have an individual why, even within our team. We try to incorporate everybody's why as much as possible. It is also something that is wonderful to have as a tool, not to be manipulative, please understand, as a tool when it comes to closing sales. Let me explain. I want business partners that are also aligned with their why and want to make a difference in this world. What better way is there than to have that conversation? This is my why. This is who I'm called to help. This is who I need to help. I need to help single mothers. I need to help single mothers become entrepreneurs. It is a wonderful, beautiful conversation to have. A lot of times sales can be quite cold, very fast paced, very much about who's getting the advantage. To me, being able to talk about the why of our company brings in that human element that was so missing when it comes to being on camera all day. So that is something that I actually quite enjoy bringing into the conversation as well, because it's a way for me to judge if this person, business partner, is a good fit for us. And it's, to me, a very gentle, very, very feminine way to be able to handle sales, that I'm able to talk about their why, and I'm able to talk about mine and our company's why. I believe that that should be a part of our sales process as a tool, but as a guiding light versus a manipulation that some sales reps like to use. So that is my 2 cents on it. Just a thought for anybody that is really trying to define their business plan. You don't necessarily need to go boom directly into it, but I do believe there is a way to incorporate it and use it as your North Star. If anybody ever has any questions on the subject, or if you are struggling with your why, DM me, reach out to our team. We all have a different why, if it can serve as some motivation to you. But I do believe that this is something that should be discussed regularly, should be used within our business strategy, and definitely, like I said, our North Star. So that's what I wanted to talk about today. I hope this helps whoever it's meant to reach. Obviously, like I said, this is a subject that I really enjoy speaking about, and it is something that is near and dear to me. And I love the fact that no one is ever going to have the same why. And I do believe that is something that is definitely a blessing for each of us. So I hope this helps. I would love to also remind everybody we'll be having a new spotlight coming out. And also we will be back on Friday morning. Alethea and myself will both be back on Friday morning. And I have not talked to her about if we have a guest or not. So we're going to have to ask Lee about that and see if we have a guest or if it's just going to be her and myself. I do apologize. I have not had that conversation with her yet this week. So I do encourage everybody to have an absolutely beautiful day. My computer is playing a joke on me this week. All week it has been telling me it's 60 degrees, which it has not been. I don't care where you're at in the US. I don't think it's 60 degrees right now. So I think my computer is trying to get me to focus on better weather. But wherever it is, and no matter how cold, and I'm a little afraid to look, oh yes, 20 degrees, definitely not 60. Wherever you are, please stay warm, stay motivated, stay fixed on your why, and we will see you on Friday. Have a wonderful day.